In my 7th life, I've met a monster princess. Is it worth reading? Join me and find out. Hello and welcome back to the channel. It's once again time to look at something a little bit more spooky. Well, not so much spooky as kind of, it's got a monster girl in. Yay! Halloween and all of that jizz. Jizz and stuff? Why would I ever see that? Let's keep it in. We don't see many Monster Girl light novels come out, and this one is another one where it's kind of like, well, it's technically one. I'm pretty sure I said Irina the Vampire Cosmonaut was technically a Monster Girl series last year, so this is technically a Monster Girl light novel. It's a vampire girl. Now, to be fully transparent, this has been sent to me by Yen Press for a fair and honest review, and I'm going to give it a fair and honest review. So this is about a young guy who, well, he's not treated well by his parents. His father is a baron, and, well, he is put into a position to fight a knight. And it's fully expected that he's going to die, and all of the parents are going to be happy because they don't want him in the life. He succeeds, and his life ends up being that of an assassin, to do all of his father's dirty work, to help his brother climb the social ranks. However, he dies, and so he decides to go into a different thing. Yeah, it's one of those ones where he keeps getting reborn and keeps doing the time loop over and over again. However, he keeps dying, but amasses different skills as things go along. This isn't really an excuse to make him an overpowered protagonist. And on the 7th time loop, he decides no more. He's not going to follow his father. He is going to live his own life. And so he decides to meet with this mysterious woman, the daughter of another baron who is the strongest soldier in the world. And he decides to marry her. Now, this is one where the daughter is rumoured to be a vampire, and it's found to be true. And of course, she has been shut away, and everybody has looked at her and been like, oh, vampire, no! And yeah, but he, of course, being the nice guy that he is pretty much the thing that's going to be, oh, well, I take you for who you are, and she instantly becomes madly in love with him. They get married very quickly, and they have a hunky-dory life. Until the revenge plot sets in. Yeah, so already we're seeing quite a lot of things here. We've got a romance, we've got a revenge plot, we've got a time loop. Yeah, now this is one that I really struggled with at the beginning. It read as a kind of generic overpowered fantasy with a beautiful love interest. And you know what, when I was reading I was kind of like, oh, you know what, we don't have many fantasy titles where we kind of have like stuff like The Angel Next Door, or just cute things being cute. And this one doesn't really do that either. It's, I wouldn't say sloppily written, but it's not written. If you want a good romance, I wouldn't see it. Check this one out, maybe. But what you might want to stick for is the revenge plot. Of course, this girl is a vampire, she can suck blood and what have you, and she falls madly in love with our protagonist. Our protagonist is trained by the strongest soldier, her father, and becomes insanely overpowered, to the point that at one point he literally does a battle with somebody and then runs to the other side of the country and does battle with another character, all within the space of a few minutes. It's very much one where the main protagonist is going to do everything and everybody else is along for the ride. Now, I've complained over the times about overpowered protagonists, but if I'm perfectly honest, this one, I didn't dislike it. It wasn't well written, it wasn't anything amazing, but I had a great time with it. The revenge plot really sucked me in, especially when we started getting curveballs. For example, the one mate that really liked him turns out to be, well, putting him under a spell. And yeah, there's quite a few plot threads, such as that one, which kind of get raised and then kind of get skirted off rather fast. And yeah, it's one of those ones where I don't know what it is. I had a good time reading this. I couldn't put it down. But I can't turn around and say this was a great read. It was fun. It was bizarre. It was just weird, bad popcorn. Like, for example, if you watch a comedy movie with, let's say, Adam Sandler in, a modern day Adam Sandler movie, there's nothing really great about it. In fact, it's not as good as other stuff, but you know what? You're probably going to sit there for 2 hours and watch it and have a decent enough time. Unless it's Jack and Jill. But, you know, I'm kind of seeing it. It's like, oh yeah, I'm not going to see this is one of the best titles ever. But you know what? I didn't hate it. Didn't have a terrible time. My biggest concern with this title, however, is that it very much gears up towards the revenge plot, reveals a load of stuff, and then kind of just ends. And as you can probably see on here, there is no volume 1. I got the impression that this is just a one-shot. It ends like mid-story. He's like, oh well, I'm going to protect you for the rest of my life. And then it just ends. They could have easily added another 100 pages to wrap up the revenge plot and stuff like that, but no, it just ends. And the guy at the back is just like, oh well, this is one of my first times a light novel, I'll see you again sometime. I was like, oh no, it's not gonna end. And it's, I don't know, it's like, it ended well enough that you kind of, oh well, they live happily ever after. But, you know, I mean, it kind of like half explains, oh well, the revenge plot, we'll just leave it to the kind of like the law and the nobles and stuff like that to kind of get resolved. These will live happily ever after, which is kind of what you want, but I don't know, it kind of just felt like it got to a certain point, like the last 10, 15 pages, and it was kind of like, oh yeah, by the way, we're going to end it. And I was just like, oh, that's a shame. I wanted more. Which makes it a very difficult recommendation. Now, if you want a very easy, candy, slice of life revenge plot story about an protagonist getting revenge on his family with a romance that's not really well written, you might have a good time here. Like I said, I enjoyed my time with it, and I'm not going to say it's a terrible title, but knowing that it doesn't end properly, yeah, it kind of puts me off a little bit, and it's a little bit more of a harder sell now, because I kind of feel I have to tell you that it's not going to end properly, and it doesn't end well or terribly, it just kind of ends. So I think it's worth checking out if you can kind of get it bundled or a Bookwalker deal, or if you want a very cheesy romance with a half decent revenge plot. Yeah, but yeah, it's fine for what it is. It is the Adam Sandler current day comedy movie of light novels. That's what I'm going to kind of see as. You're not going to have a terrible time. You're not going to have a fantastic time. You are going to have a time. Whether or not you can decide that's worth time well spent is up to you, but I enjoyed it, and that's about as much as I can see it. Thanks to Yen Press for sending me it so I can give you guys the honest review. And if you like this kind of content, leave a like, subscribe, and check out some other content over here. I've got one here that is a one-shot, but it does end very well. See you over there.